Hey everybody, as I'm sure most of you Diablo fans are well aware of now, Blizzard announced a Diablo 2 remaster called Diablo 2 Resurrected, which includes the classic Diablo 2 game and the expansion Lord of Destruction. And I just have to say, as someone who's been playing the game for the last 20 years, watching the trailer gave me fucking chills. I mean, holy shit, just look at the way the fucking Iron Golem and the Blood Golems look. And waiting for this game to release is going to be the slowest year of my entire life. But before we dive in, I realized that some people just want to know what changes or features are being added to the new remaster. I was originally going to add all that into this video as well, but then I realized it was going to be much longer than I wanted it to be. And I'm trying to keep my videos as short as possible, but as informative as possible to not waste anybody's time. So I'll have a separate video of all the Diablo 2 Resurrected new features, and I'll link that above and also in the description below. So let's get started. The remaster is being handled by Vicarious Visions, who has a history, it would seem, of bringing my childhood back to life. They have remastered games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 and a collection of Crash Bandicoot games, all of which have been received very well by fans, leading me to believe that they are more than capable of remastering Diablo with the care and respect that it deserves. I think most people that have been following any Diablo-related news have been assuming that there was a D2 remaster in the works for quite some time now. But what I, and I'm sure many of you have been wondering, is what that remaster is going to look like. Would it be like the StarCraft remaster with the updated 2D sprites, or would it be an all-out 3D update? Of course, I was hoping for the latter, and thank the 7 Evils of Hell, that's exactly what they did. Lead artist for the project, Chris Amaral, said that nostalgia was their primary focus when approaching the aesthetic for the remaster. And they achieved this by adhering to a 70-30 visual guide, where 70% of the game art is just like the original, and the other 30% is where they take that art and make it just that much better. To actually get a 3D look for a game made in a 2D universe, they had to develop a whole new physically based renderer on top of the original game logic. Perhaps the most interesting thing about this is the original game is actually running underneath the new renderer, and those graphics are just mimicking what's happening behind the scenes. Also, because they're using this new renderer, the game will have real-time lighting effects, which I think actually makes the game look creepier than it did originally. I don't even know how that's possible. And thanks to lead game design Andre Abrahamian for looking high and low for every possible file related to Diablo 2. The team was able to use original source files with design ideas, Word documents describing the original art processes, old tools to use to create the original sprites, and even some original 3D shots left from Blizzard North. This gave the developers more than enough information to recreate Diablo 2 as accurately as possible. One example of this is they show something hanging in a tavern that looks like 3 whitish pixels in the original. But through examining some of the original pieces of art, they were able to distinguish these small pixels as hanging garlic, and we're able to recreate that element for the remaster. The attention to detail these guys have is just reassuring, to say the least. Diablo 2 has 28 minutes of cinematics from start to finish, and in Resurrected, these cinematics are being remastered with high fidelity art as mentioned by Chris Amaral. On top of this, all the audio in the game has been remastered. With the developers' goals to capture nostalgia and stay as true to the game as possible, they wanted to keep the balance intact, meaning monster spawn rates, item drops, etc. are all the same. But all the problems that came with playing a 20-year-old game, like compatibility issues, resolution problems, have all been fixed. Resurrected will be releasing on all consoles alongside with PC, with cross progression, which means you could be playing your character on your PC and feel like, fuck man, I just want to lay down on the couch and chill, but I want to keep playing Diablo 2, well, you can just walk over to your Switch and pick up exactly where you left off on your computer. It is important to note that they worded it in such a way that sounds like not all consoles will have access to cross progression, so we'll just have to wait to hear more on that. So when you're actually playing the game on a console, the console still reads it like you're playing with a keyboard and mouse to keep that original feel of the game. And instead of being that eye in the sky, as said by Rob Gallerani in the interview, controlling your character with the mouse, you actually become the character using the controller. So this has some weird implications in gameplay that you normally wouldn't deal with on PC, like pathfinding doesn't exist if you're using a controller. It also has an effect on certain gameplay mechanics, like the Sorceress Teleport. Traditionally, the teleport would take you where your mouse was or where you clicked, but on a console, it just takes you a default distance to where your character is facing. I'm actually really looking forward to playing Diablo 2 on the console. I never experienced Diablo 3 on console. I think you can play Diablo 1 on Switch with some sort of weird mods I've heard. But yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on Diablo 2 on console. And now there are some things that I want to mention before closing this out. I think that they're important to know, or they're probably questions that people do have about the remaster. So I just want to talk about those before ending the video. There will be new global leaderboards, and you'll be able to play with people all over the world. I talk more about this in my Diablo 2 Resurrected new features video, so if you haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. You will still be able to play classic mode if you're one of those people that doesn't like the expansion and just wants to play purely classic, and you'll also be able to play online and offline. But of course, if you made an offline character, you won't be able to switch that character back to online. You will be able to save currently saved characters from Diablo 2 into the remastered version of the game. And also mentioned in a tweet on Diablo's Twitter, there will be mod support. This is huge for me because after 15 plus years of playing Diablo 2, it can become pretty stale. So a lot of my recent time that I've spent in Diablo 2 has been spent within modded games. That's over the last 5 or 6 years or so. And for those of you who have never played a modded version of Diablo 2 before, I highly recommend it. I've played a couple of them, but my favorite is Diablo 2 Resurgence. I've heard Path of Diablo is pretty popular as well, so just be sure to check those out. 8-player multiplayer will still be in the game, along with traditional trading, PvP, and body blocking. I'm looking at you, Maggot Lair. And because of the new BattleNet integration, it'll be easier for them to handle things like duping and bots, but they can't make any concrete promises that it'll never happen. The developers will be holding a technical alpha, the date of which hasn't been announced yet, but you can sign up over at the Diablo 2 Resurrected website. And lastly, of course, I have to mention the game will be released in 2021, but the exact date hasn't been mentioned as of yet. On the pre-purchase page, it says that the game will release on or before December 2021. I've got my fingers crossed that it releases before December. I'm really hoping for the summertime, but I think it'll be more likely to fall in the fall sometime between, October and November, sometime in there. But to say that I'm excited to get my hands on this remaster would be an understatement. And it makes me really happy to see the developers so passionate about the project. But thanks for watching, guys. As I have previously mentioned before, I have a video covering all the new features added in the remaster, so be sure to check that out. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe for more gaming-related content. Take care, everyone. They have remastered games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and a collection of Crash Bandicoot. They have remastered games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and a collection of Crash Bandicoot. What the fuck?